this social media thing, you never know who's watching these things. So remember back on Friday, we were talking about old school baseball and you were bringing it up. And I said that on some rainy, miserable April night, that Dallas Green had Al Leiter out there for about 135 pitches.
Yeah.
Well, guess who we have with us tonight? We have the great Al Leiter. Al, how are you?
I'm doing well, Guy. How are you?
By the way, Al, first of all, thank you for joining us. I'm kind of surprised you're not throwing a fastball up and in right now, knocking me back on my back.
No, but contrary, when you said that, and then you retweeted some that I should be mad. First of all, I played in New York a long time. Started with the Yankees.
Yeah,
for a while with Toronto and the Marlins, and then 7 of my last years great because I played for the team that I rooted for. Sorry, Guy. As a Met fan. But
Guy, did you hear that?
No, I'm very well aware of.
Listen, Guy, I say this all the time, and I've even said it to our friend Anthony Volpe's dad. They're huge Yankee fans. Anthony Volpe went to high school with my son out here in New Jersey, and got first pick by the Yankees. And they hate the Red Sox. They hate everybody. And I said, you know what, Mr. Volpe, what would have happened if the damn Red Sox drafted your son? He goes, I'd be wearing a Red Sox hat.
We would love them.
And that's what happened. Michael Kay calls me a fraud. A fraud of what? I got drafted by the Yankees. My dad was a Mets fan. He grew up in Long Island. He loved the lovable losers. I grew up in New Jersey, and I got drafted by the Yankees 3 years later. I'm pitching in New York. And fast forward to the conversation of my 163 pitch game. So
it was 163 pitches. So how do you were you pissed off at Dallas after that? I know you had to be.
Or had you done something to piss him off going into that game, Al?
See, there you go. I'm going to punch you in the face.
No, but I mean, that's obviously was not looking out for your arm, right?
All right, so here it is. I'm gonna look at this. I got to put on my specs because prior to this, I wanted to get it accurate. So I pulled up 1989, my box score for that game, and it was my second game. It was real cold. Like usual, early in my career, because I overthrew. I tried to throw the next one harder than the last one.
Thrower, not a pitcher.
100%, and I will attest to that. The prior year, I got called up in '87. I had Lou Piniella. In '88, I had Billy Martin. Billy Martin got fired halfway through the year, and then I had Lou again. So I had some familiarity there. George Steinbrenner, the late Yankee owner, he hires Dallas Green, who was like all old school, tough kind of that guy. And my first start against the Indians, was mediocre. Walked a lot of guys. And then it was that game. Second game, freezing cold night. Gary Ward hit a grand slam off of Frank Viola. I had 9 walks and 10 strikeouts. Somehow, some way, I go up to the 9th inning. And I think they got a guy out or whatever, and then I walked a guy, and he takes me out. Tom Seaver was doing the game that night with Phil Rizzuto. And all he said was, geez, I just find it amazing that he's actually coming out again. I had 2 more starts with the Yankees, and they got traded to the Blue Jays. And I couldn't lift my arm, honestly, guys. And I knew I fried something, and it was about a 3+ year window that 2 surgeries, labrum tear, supraspinatus tear, all sorts of mess. Went back to college, got sponsored by Prudential-based securities by a guy. I thought I was going to be the next Richard Todd and work in the as a broker.
All right, so we're talking stocks at some point tonight.
All right, I'll stop, Guy. I'll stop.
No, don't. I love this. It's an amazing story. So obviously pitching runs in your family. I mean, your brother was a pitcher. Your nephew is a pitcher. Is he with the Phillies? I think maybe I'm wrong. And your son obviously would have been probably one of the top 13 picks in the draft, decided to go to college. If you had a handicap, who's the better pitcher in the Leiter family? And be honest.
So define the best,
right? Best stuff.
I guess
best stuff. Let's start out. Who's got the live arm?
My son last year in the Morris County Finals, he hit 98 miles an hour on the gun. The hardest pitch I ever threw was 97. I struck Cecil Fielder out on a high fastball when I was with the Marlins in 1997. First year of interleague play. And I remember peeking up at the radar gun because I was not that guy. I threw hard, but I didn't throw like that next level. But I knew it was like, good morning, good afternoon, good night. And I buzzed it right by him, right down the middle. And I turned around, I saw 97. My son in high school had already hit 98. So my nephew, who was with, Guy, you're right, he was with the Phillies and he was with the Blue Jays, had Tommy John last year. He never threw that hard. My brother Mark never threw that hard. And I never threw that hard. So honestly, in complete package, and I would not do this because I'm brutally honest. Jack in complete package. Now, who knows, right? He's a freshman in college. Like with respect to delivery, much better curveball. Already the ball comes out of his hand. Doesn't have a changeup yet, and his slider's pretty good. Like I would say, pretty good. But had it like my brother played 11 years in the big leagues. I got 19 seasons, so the young whippersnapper's got to do something more than just throw 98.
Wow.
So I got to see Jack pitch. You can't believe you're watching an 18-year-old kid throw the ball. It's amazing, and I think it speaks to the training that these young people do.
But the poise of having that.
This is a guy here. He's passed away, and I can tell you this guy, and Tim, this guy changed my career. When I mentioned about Dallas Green, It's the mental ABCs of pitching, but it's the mental game of baseball. And it was the baseball Bible in the minor leagues for every minor leaguer. This was just a mental. Harvey Dorfman was a real smart guy. Worked for some clubs, Oakland, then the Marlins when I was with him, and he changed it. But to talk about training, Tim, aside from the physical, like this stuff, I never had a grasp on this until I was 26, 27 years old and realized I needed the mindset. But like that, my kid, he's got a whole other level of comprehensive process that is so much better. And to your point, Guy, all the kids today, better routine, they work out better, they're stronger, they're faster. They are.
Congratulations on the prodigy progeny. And clearly, if your career, which look, I followed you, and I'm a huge baseball fan, as I mentioned. I grew up a Mets fan because my old man worked for the O's, so we had to hate the Yankees, and I'll leave it at that. But you kind of, your career really seemed like, maybe your last year in Toronto, but you really turned Florida. You won the World Series in Toronto. You won in with the Marlins. But then things really got exciting for you when you showed up in Flushing. All right, so let's talk a little bit about that, and let's talk with the love and the admiration for not only the apple that popped up and down the guy hates out in the outfield, but can we go right to the 2000 World Series? And can I ask you a couple things about Game 1, which you threw a gem, and it looked like that was the game we were going to win coming out of the gates. Until Timo is loafing, going around the bases, and gets thrown out at home by an absurd play by Derek Jeter, and that's the ball game. No,
I'm going to say yes. And I know every Yankee fan or whomever, but I will say this. And the reason why I think it was so pivotal was there was really tremendous pressure on the Yankees. Here they are coming off winning 3 of the last 4 World Series. Now they're playing the Mets, who are always a team that's always scratching and clawing to be the Yankees with respect to obviously winning. Nobody can compare. And that first game, beyond momentum, changed with respect to having a lead going into the 9th. To beat the mighty Yanks at Yankee Stadium. If we split, great. We're going to Shea. If we win 2 or 3 there, all right, we got a shot. So, and then when we lost the way we did in extra innings and Paul O'Neill, great at bat, and all this, it beyond blew the wind out of our sails. It really did. And I know, look, we don't have a time machine, Guy. I'm telling you, I still, to my grave, I still think we win Game 1, we beat the Yankees that year.
No question. We all know that. Guy knows that, but it didn't happen.
The counterfactual stuff is never interesting. I think it was Luis Sojo hit like a 37 hopper through the middle. I mean, your shortstop must have had a freaking lead weight on his ass because he didn't make the play. And I've watched that game again, Al, because the Yankees played on, the Yes Network. And I got to tell you something. You did pitch a gem. And I've always been an Al Leiter fan, despite your fondness of the Mets. And I'm more of an Al Leiter fan as a human being because, I've gotten to know Al a great deal, and he's a wonderful guy. And thanks for coming on with us. We could do this for an hour. We only have 10 minutes, according to Twitter.
Well, and Al, we got to give you a chance to give us your market insights at this point. We're talking baseball, but I mean,
preservation of capital at my age and what I was able to be blissfully lucky to accumulate. I like ETFs. I spread my risk. I dabble in a couple individual stocks, but I'm not as risky anymore.
You're talking the right language to a lot of the folks that watch our show. Really, the goal is to try to simplify the game, so to speak, and I think that's what we're doing. Any sense on, people are asking these questions, are we doing a double dip, or are we going to go to the lows again? It was a pretty scary time 6 weeks ago.
I try to stay away, and I have a lot of friends that do trade, and I honestly realize I've come to the realization that no matter who you are and what you think you're always at least days, if not weeks, behind the people who really know. So if you're always chasing a stock, my belief is this: I was lucky enough to get on the ground floor of a company that I eventually became a board member, and it was what Darling, a sale of Wall Street. Company by the name of Ultimate Software, and we sold to a private equity last year, and it was a fantastic experience. But just if you don't really know the business, to just chase stuff, I'm not comfortable with it. But I do have probably 10% of just fund money that I would consider, or less even, to not be to be a little risky.
Well, you're a legend in New York. I love the stuff you're doing on MLB. That's what a great crew that is over there. You guys seem like you're having a ball every night.
You guys got to come by, Guy. I'm telling you, I told you, Guy, and I got to come by with Tim to find out if he can actually hit a wiffle ball, because we got Studio 42, and
we'd love it. Last year prediction on baseball returning to the Diamond, with or without fans?
Oh, it's definitely going to return. There won't be fans in the stands, and then I think we'll be at the mercy of curbs and what the federal government is saying, CDC, et cetera. But there will be baseball. And I think it's going to be sooner than you think.
Al, real quick, you bring that weak shit of yours to me in a wiffle ball, and I will dial 9.
I'll tell you what, I'll turn it into a baseball, and then you'll be talking about what kind of weak shit it is. I'll show you.
You have me confused with somebody that looks scared. Listen, we got to jump. Al, thanks so much for hanging out with us.
My pleasure.
Al Leiter.